What is going on, Pats Nation? You guys already know who it is. Patriots Global here, back with another video, and in this one, I want to talk about the entire list of New England Patriots pending 2023 free agents. These guys are set to hit the open market in just about a month. The Patriots do not own rights to any of these guys, so essentially, if the Patriots want any of these players that I list on this list back for next year and beyond, they are going to have to sign them to a new contract. Now, according to PassCap on Twitter, the Patriots are expected to have about $34 million straight off the bat in available cap space. Now, I know there were talks about us having upwards of about $50 million in free agency, in cap space this offseason, and that's a big letdown from, 50 to 60 million all the way down to 34, but the Patriots are able to get to about that $60 million mark, even a little bit more, if they make a plethora of different moves that they very well could make. The question is, will Bill Belichick ultimately make those moves? But that $34 million is what we will have straight off the bat. That is still top 10 in the NFL. But without further ado, let's just hop right into this video. Now, first off, I'm just going to list all the free agents. Then I'm going to go back each of these guys and just say, hey, my ultimate thoughts on them. Should the Patriots bring them back or not? So starting off here, we have wide receiver Nelson Agholor, then free safety Devin McCourty, cornerback Jonathan Jones, wide receiver Jacoby Myers, tackle Isaiah Wynn, special teams ace Matthew Slater. We have Cody Davis listed as a free safety. We all know that he's a core special teamer. Safety Jabril Peppers, cornerback Jawan Williams, inside linebacker Raekwon McMillan, defensive tackle Carl Davis, right tackle Marcus Cannon, long snapper Joe Cardona, center James Ferentz, tackle Connor McDermott, running back Damian Harris, tackle Yanni Kajust, cornerback Miles Bryant, and linebacker Mac Wilson. Now, for me here, Nelson Agholor, this one's pretty easy for me, as I think it is for everybody, and I think it's also a pretty easy decision for Bill Belichick in the front office there. Nelson Agholor is just not going to be back with the Patriots. I definitely think he's going to have a market from other teams out there in the league. He's had a market the last couple times that he was a free agent. So I do expect ultimately he does have a market elsewhere. He's going to get some type of deal somewhere else. He was making $11 million with the Patriots in 2022, which is absolutely ridiculous. The Patriots easily, high-key, overpaid for Nelson Agholor in really every phase of the game. He's had issues with drops. He's had issues getting open. He's had some issues staying healthy. I honestly didn't love the signing at the time 2 years ago, and my mind really never changed on it. He was exactly what I thought he was going to be, and the Patriots easily overpaid for him. Quite honestly, I wish the Patriots had traded him last offseason and just made Tyquan Thornton their speedster on the outside for the entire season. Because really, outside of that play, week 2, I believe it was, against the Pittsburgh Steelers, where he had that Randy Moss-esque catch, totally mossed the Steelers defender and goes in for a touchdown. Other than that, he really didn't do anything for the Patriots, drops and fumbles at key moments for us. And really, once Tyquan Thornton was healthy and he was a little bit more comfortable and divulged within the Patriots offense after being injured during the preseason, Nelson Agholor's role with the Patriots pretty much just disintegrated. So I'm going to say pass on this one, and I also think that the Patriots will pass on this one too. Now, Devin McCourty here, if he comes back to the league, he's coming back to play for the Patriots. He's not going anywhere. He's retiring a Patriot. At this point with him, it's just a year-to-year basis. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? If he does return to the league, aka the Patriots, I think it's going to be on a one-year deal, and he's just going to take it year by year. But with how things are going, I have to say that Devin McCourty is just ultimately going to retire at the end of the day. Both his speed and his play in general dropped off quite a bit from 2021 to 2022, and really even from week 1 to week 18 in 2022. I just don't think he has it left in him, and I do think that he does retire. Now, next up on this list is going to be Jonathan Jones, and let me tell you, Jonathan Jones, he's going to have a market. To me, there's 3 places that I could see Jonathan Jones going to. One is the Patriots. 2 is going to be the Las Vegas Raiders, they need so much help in their secondary. Obviously, Josh McDaniels, it would make a ton of sense to go there if he doesn't re-sign with New England. And then also the Jacksonville Jags, they need a lot of help. Another team that ultimately I could see Jonathan Jones going to. That's a little bit more of a dark horse compared to the other two. But to me, those are my top 3 landing spots for him. I think the Patriots, though, need to bring back Jonathan Jones. Now, again, it's going to depend on the market ultimately that he does have. In 2022, he was making about $7 million. The thing here is that market very well could go up for John Jones just because he went from specifically playing special teams and then also playing as a nickel cornerback for the Patriots in the slot to playing as an outside perimeter cornerback for the Patriots this past year, in which he actually did really good at it. He was a top cornerback in the league, despite some inconsistencies and some issues that he was having at times being a perimeter cornerback going up against some more top-end wide receivers in the league. Due to his versatility on defense, playing in the slot, having experience for a whole season as a essential cornerback one when he was healthy on the perimeter, and playing on special teams, I think that market is going to go up. I'm not paying Jonathan Jones $10+ million per year. I don't think John Jones is a cornerback one. I think that Jonathan Jones is a very good cornerback, but I think that part of the reason he looked as good as he did as a cornerback one was due to some of the receivers he was going against. Like I said before, when he was put up against some more top-end wide receivers in the league, he did struggle, and a part of that does come down ultimately to his size. The Patriots really do utilize Jonathan Jones more than I think anyone is going to, just due to that versatility. The Patriots have used him, again, in the slot, on the outside. They've played him deep at safety, which if Devin McCourty retires, could be a key piece there in Jonathan Jones for the Patriots. Not to mention the fact that you have the Miami Dolphins in your division. You need speed. You have the Buffalo Bills in your division. You need speed. And really outside of Jonathan Jones and Marcus Jones, the Patriots don't have a whole lot of speed there within that secondary. And Jonathan Jones is easily a faster cornerback than Marcus Jones is also. When you have to go up against guys like Tua and Tyreek, and really just the fastest offense in the National Football League in the Miami Dolphins twice a year, a guy like Jonathan Jones does come in clutch, and he's proven to come in clutch several times when you do have to go up against those speedsters. Like I said, though, a lot of teams are going to need secondary help, whether that's cornerback or safety, and I think that there's definitely going to be a market here for Jonathan Jones, and strictly due to the fact that the Patriots need a true perimeter cornerback, I think there is a world in which they do look to use that money with another true outside perimeter cornerback, and then just use Marcus Jones in the slot. But again, for me, I think John Jones is a must re-sign. Now, next up on this list is probably going to be the hardest out of all of these free agents, and that's going to be wide receiver Jakobi Meyers. Now, a year ago from now, they placed I believe the second-round tender on him as he was a restricted free agent at the time, which ultimately gave the Patriots a right to Jakobi Meyers for another year. Now they don't have that. So essentially, the Patriots either have to place that franchise tag on Jakobi Meyers, sign him to a long-term deal, or he's just going to be a free agent that signs elsewhere. And unfortunately for the Patriots, this is a free agent year where there's not a lot of good wide receivers. Jakobi Meyers, outside of someone like Odell, who hasn't played football in over a year, is going to be the best wide receiver on this market. And he's also one of the most consistent wide receivers in this market. Does he have the highest ceiling? No, but he does have probably the most consistency out of any receiver outside of Odell out of all the wide receiver free agents in 2023. Now, right now, his market value is set at about $12.5 million. I wouldn't give that to Jakobi. I don't think he's worth $12.5 million. The absolute max that I would go to for Jakobi would be about $10.5 million, and I definitely think that there's going to be teams that offer him more. So I think that it does decide on Jakobi Meyers. What does he want to do? Does he want to just get that bag, or does he want to take a few $1 million less and stay with the New England Patriots? And I think that's going to be one of the big questions for him is, You've been so consistent with the Patriots. You have led this team the last 3 seasons, the last 3 out of 4 seasons, you have led this team in receiving yards. You have been a key piece. You have been the piece to this offense for the last 3 years. You've been able to do it with Cam Newton. You've been able to do it with Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi for a couple of weeks. The question really comes down to, in a scheme that's not the Patriots, are you going to be able to do that same thing? Wide receiver ones these days are getting paid $18 million plus per year. And again, Jacoby's market value is about $12.5 million, which makes him around a wide receiver 2. In an ideal world, Jacoby isn't a wide receiver 1. He is more of a wide receiver 2. And Jacoby is also one of those styled receivers that you don't see a lot of in the league these days. He's not a true threat when it comes to going deep down the field. He really doesn't do much of anything when it comes to yards after the catch. He's one of those guys that you can play on outside sometimes, but he's mainly going to be a slot guy that you go to in your time of need. He's consistent and he's reliable, and that's why he has succeeded so much here in New England. Now, I have heard rumors that the Las Vegas Raiders could potentially be looking at moving on from Hunter Renfrow and Darren Wallen, their superstar tight end. If they get rid of somebody like Hunter Renfrow, then I 100% see a world in which someone like Josh McDaniels goes out and tries to bring Jacoby Myers in the building. I do think the Patriots want Jacoby Myers back, and without a doubt, they're going to make a push to sign him. They're not just going to let him walk. The question mark comes down to how much are they going to offer him? Because like I said, I definitely believe that there's a world in which Jacoby would take a few $1 million less to play for the Patriots, but I don't think that he's just going to take an $8 million per year deal or a $7 million per year deal from Bill Belichick. He does still want to get a bag. He does still want to get cashed out. And with what Jacoby has done and only getting better as each year goes on, I do think that he is worth more than $7 million, just not the $12.5 plus million that his market value is set at. The Patriots really don't have a lot of guys on this list that I think they must retain, but I think Jacoby Myers is a guy that they do need to retain. I think they can get around if he does leave, but I think he's a guy that you do want to retain. Like I said, he's led you in receiving yards the last 3 seasons. He's been able to make it work with several different quarterbacks under this system. Not to mention the fact that he's been one of Mac Jones' go-to guys, and there really hasn't been a lot of those. You know, Mac Jones looks like he's starting to build a little bit of chemistry there with Devontae Parker, which there's no key confirmation that he'll even be back with the Patriots next year and beyond. Kendrick Bourne is in the final year of his deal. Not to mention the fact, are the Patriots actually going to get him acclimated again this year? And then you have Tyquan Thornton, who it was very clear that Mac Jones and him were really just not on the same page all season long. Tom Brady always had that guy he trusted. He always had his go-to guy, whether that was Rob Gronkowski, Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, and I think it is pivotal for the Patriots to have at least one of those guys in the building, and that guy is Jacoby Myers. He really doesn't get injured either. You don't have to worry about that, and you can consistently rely on him to play, 90% of snaps, 100% of snaps each week if you needed him to. Now, next up on this list is going to be tackle Isaiah Wynn. He's not going to be back with the Patriots. The Patriots should not even offer him a contract. He doesn't want to be here. Okay, the Patriots tried him for his entire career at left tackle. He's dealt with injuries every single year, been very inconsistent. The Patriots tried to move him over to right tackle. It really doesn't work out. He basically misses half the season with some injury that should not have kept him out as long as he did. He had issues showing up to practice during the offseason. He just doesn't want to be here, and you don't want a guy here that simply doesn't want to be here. And when you have a guy that doesn't want to be here and a guy that's not performing on the field, there's no reason to bring him back. I think he'll get an offer somewhere else. Hopefully, it's a dumb team that gives the Patriots a comp pick in return for him because he's not worth it at all. Let Isaiah Wynn walk. Find a guy in free agency. Draft a guy. Really, at this point, anybody's got to be better than Isaiah Wynn was. Now, next up here is special teams ace Matthew Slater. This is another really tough one because I could see Matthew Slater coming back for another year, and I do see a world in which that could happen, but I just don't see Devin McCourty having it inside of him. The only thing is that Devin McCourty and Matthew Slater are very bonded over when they're going to retire. They talk to each other throughout the season, they talk to each other before the season, and they talk to each other at the end of the season, essentially being like, so, what are you going to do? Are you going to retire this year? What are you thinking? And it seems like when one guy decides to hand it up, the other is going to do it too. Just towards the end of the season, it really looked like Devin McCourty was retiring. So if that is the case, which I do think that, even somebody like Matthew Slater has taken a step off. I don't think I saw the Matthew Slater that I've known his entire career in 2022. I'm going to go about saying that Matthew Slater also does retire alongside Devin McCourty. And it's not a case of the Patriots resigning him because he's not playing football anymore. Now, speaking of special teams aces, Cody Davis is next here on this list, and this is one that I really sat down with myself about because the Patriots special teams was a little bit wonky and inconsistent last year. You just heard me say that Matthew Slater is probably going to retire, and we know how much Bill Belichick just values special teams. So, hey, Cody Davis should be back, right? I'm going to say that the Patriots don't bring Cody Davis back, and I'll even go as far as to say that I think he's a dark horse to also retire. He's on the wrong side of 30, guys. He's 33. Before the start of training camp, he'll be 34. Not to mention the fact that he's coming off of a terrible season-ending injury. When you're 33 and you have a season-ending injury, that's usually just a career-ending injury at that point. Now, like I said, he doesn't play defense. He plays special teams. There's a world in which he could keep going on, but I just don't see it. The Patriots are getting younger with their special teams players. They're building up that new decade for their special teams. And it's also just so easy to find special teams players, whether it's a UDFA or whether it's just a guy who's going to be a free agent that they sign for a couple $1 million. I think that they'll be easily able to build it up, even if Cody Davis does leave. So I just don't see him being back with the Patriots. Now, next up here, safety Jabril Peppers. I'm going to have the Patriots re-signing him. I thought that he was a very underrated player for the Patriots last year. I thought he was a very versatile player for the Patriots defense last year. There were a lot of injuries going on for New England, whether it was that cornerback that started the season off with really next to no depth, not to mention you having, guys like Kyle Duggar and Adrian Phillips going out at times, especially Kyle Duggar. A guy like Jabril really did have to step in. I think we all also expected, including Bill Belichick, this linebacker core to be better than it was throughout the entirety of the season. You had two guys really shine in Jawan Bentley and Jelani Tavai, but outside of that, your linebackers really were not all that great. And because of that, we saw someone like Jabril Peppers play a lot in the box, play hybrid linebacker. And at the end of the day, it really saved them from the deficiencies that they were having at linebacker. If Devin does retire, which in this world I do have him doing, you're definitely going to want to continue to build that up because not only are you going to need depth at that point, but you're also going to need starters alongside the safety position at that point also. So I think Jabril Peppers was really good with the Patriots last year. I think it was really one of the best of his career. And like I said, he was just so undervalued. So I think he comes back with the Patriots, only 27. I could see him on like a 2 to 3 year deal. Next up here is going to be Jawan Williams. Now, he's at the end of his rookie contract. He's going to be done here in New England. It looked like a high potential pick at that time, but it's proven to be the wrong pick time after time. This man has had several opportunities to pin himself in as a starter and has not. Didn't even need to be CB1, didn't even need to be CB2, couldn't even pin himself in as a CB3. At 6'4", you thought that there was going to be a lot of potential there with him. New England tried him as a perimeter corner. They even tried him at safety a little bit. Nothing panned out. I'm sure he'll get opportunities elsewhere, especially with the height and the build that he has. Only 25 years old, but he's been around here long enough. We've tried this experiment with Jawan Williams long enough. He's out. Now, next up here is linebacker Raekwon McMillan. Like I said, these Patriots linebackers outside of Juwan Bentley and Jelani Tavai really just did not perform last year, especially to the expectations that we had. But if I had to bring up a third linebacker, it would definitely be Raekwon McMillan. I think he definitely had his moments, especially towards the end of the season. He started to pick things up, but still was just very inconsistent. We do know that Bill Belichick does really like him and that he has had some success in the NFL while with teams like Miami, had 1 year with Vegas, just wasn't able to stay all that healthy. I could see him returning on a 1 to 2 year deal, give the Patriots a little bit more depth. Like I said, he started to look good mid towards the end of this past 2022 season. So I could definitely see them bringing him back. He had a defensive touchdown. He had a 1 sack. He had 35 total tackles. So as long as it's not a high deal, I definitely could see the Patriots bringing him back, and I don't think he's going to have much of a market, so I do think he'll be back as more of a depth piece and a rotational linebacker. Now, next up here is something that I'm realizing that this website did not list here for the Patriots. With Spot Track, they didn't put on here that Daniel Ekuale is also a free agent, so I didn't mention that before. I knew there was something missing. I do want to squeeze that in here real quick before we continue on. So Daniel Ekuale is a really interesting take because obviously he was suspended for a few games to start the season, but he's actually been a key rotational piece for the Patriots' interior defensive line. And the Patriots are really the team that put Daniel Ekuale on the map. Before that, he was with a couple of other teams on 1 year deals, did absolutely nothing, wasn't making any more than, $1 million. And even for the Patriots this past year, only making about $700,000, but was a key interior rotational pass rush defensive tackle for the Patriots. I think the Patriots would like to bring him back, but I do think that there's going to be a team that does offer him just a little bit more, that the Patriots go, we're okay. So I am going to say that Daniel Ekuale doesn't come back to the Patriots, but honestly, if he doesn't get a big contract somewhere and we bring him back for, $1 to $1.3 million, I would be okay with that. Because again, he really was a key piece to the Patriots pass rush from a rotational standpoint, especially when Christian Barmore went down, because really the only pass rush defensive tackles the Patriots had, which is something that they do value, is Christian Barmore and Daniel Ekuale. Outside of that, no pass rush really came from the interior. But there is a lot of NFL teams that need interior defensive line help, especially from a pass rush standpoint. So I am going to say that there's going to be a team willing to offer him just a little bit more money than the Patriots are. So I think that he is out. Next up, bringing it along here, Carl Davis, the defensive tackle. He's 30. The Patriots like depth along their defensive line. They don't have a whole lot of it. Carl Davis has been a guy the last couple of years that has played a key rotational piece for them and been pretty productive for them also. He's 30 years old. He's not going to get a big contract anywhere else. By the time that 2023 starts, he's going to be 31. I have them missing out on Daniel Ekuale, so I do have them bringing back here Carl Davis on another 1 year deal. Next up, that brings Marcus Cannon, the right tackle. He's 34 years old. He'll be 35 once the season starts. He's a guy that I think is just going to retire. I don't see the Patriots resigning him. They really only signed him to the practice squad and then the active roster because of how bad Isaiah Wynn was. In a perfect world, you do not want Isaiah Wynn or Marcus Cannon starting for your team. They have a whole offseason to prevent that and prevent what happened this past year. So I don't think Marcus Cannon is back. I think he does retire. Moving on here to long snapper Joe Cardona, 30 years old. He'll be 31 by the time that the next season starts. So I do have them bringing him back. Long snappers can play pretty deep into their 30s here. They don't do too much. Joe Cardona, the last couple of years, has been a little bit questionable, which is why they've brought in a few long snappers. He actually dealt with an injury last year also, but, in the Patriots community, he's been a key player. So I do think that they do ultimately bring him back. He has a lot of familiarity with the system, has a lot of familiarity with the players, which is still very important with communication when it comes to your long snapper and your punter. So I do think that they do bring him back. Not like there's going to be a big market for him anyway. That brings up here James Ferentz. Right now, I'm going to say the Patriots do not bring back James Ferentz right away. Okay, so when I'm talking about these free agents, I'm talking about pretty soon within the league year, because the Patriots will sign their players first, their key players first that they don't want signing with any other teams before they go out into free agency and sign other players. I think that James Ferentz will be available for the Patriots down the road. I think that they'll bring him back, come spring, come summer. They always do this with him. As kind of just that backup piece. They kind of want to use their money elsewhere, navigate their roster pieces, and then bring him back when they have the availability to. So I think that's exactly what they're going to do here. So for now, I'm going to say they don't bring him back now. Connor McDermott here, tackle, started for the Patriots kind of at that last stretch throughout the end of the Patriots 2022 season. He didn't do too bad, but he didn't do great. I think the Patriots are going to have, their starting tackle here and hopefully some depth there behind whoever their starters end up being, whether that's free agency or draft. And again, really the Patriots only brought Connor McDermott in because they literally had no depth and no starting tackle there. They did draft him originally back in 2017, but they let him go pretty quickly. He spent the rest of that time with the Jets. I do think that the Jets or another team is just going to come up and claim him pretty quickly, and the Patriots just aren't going to make much of a move for him. So I do think that he is going to be gone. Next up here is a big one for the Patriots, a tough one for the Patriots. Now, Damien Harris and the Patriots both are interested in a reunion. It's just going to come down to the numbers. He's only 26 years old. He's not going to be running back one for the Patriots. When Sony Michel ultimately got replaced, it was by Damien. Damien did really good for the Patriots over the last several years. A little inconsistency due to injuries. But man, you can't get past the Ramondre Stevenson train, let me tell you. That's RB1 easily for the Patriots. He cemented that in within himself. He's more versatile than Damien Harris is, but we do know that the Patriots do love a good 1-2 punch with their running backs. They can't rely only on Ramondre. They do still have like a Kevin Harris and a Pierre Strong, which I do think Pierre Strong does serve a different role than Damien and Ramondre do for the Patriots. I think that he's kind of that receiving back for them. So for me, I just kind of looked off of market value at the end of the day. He has a market value of about $7 million, which I don't think he's going to make anywhere. But you look at some of these teams with key running backs that could very well be leaving. Tony Pollard for the Cowboys. You have Saquon Barkley, which I do think returns to the Giants. But then you have somebody like Josh Jacobs, questionable if he's going to return to the Raiders or not. And if he doesn't return to the Raiders, you better believe that Damien Harris is going to reunite there with Josh McDaniels. I love Damien. He's been a key piece to the Boston atmosphere and this team. Who he is off the field, I think, is so much better than who he is on the field. And he brings a lot to the team on the field too, but I think it's just going to come down to money. I think the Patriots are only going to want to give him a couple $1 million per year, and he's just not going to want that. I do think that he would take a hometown discount, but not that much of a hometown discount. So I think that right now I got to say that he's going to go, but it would not shock me if he did stay. Now, Yanni Kajus, tackle here. He's only 26 years old, but man, this guy has dealt with so many injuries to the point where we've only really gotten to see what he's been able to do over the last year or so. I'm going to say that the Patriots do bring him back. Again, only 26 years old. We finally saw him take a leap last year. Still dealt with some injuries. I don't know if he's a starting caliber tackle, but I think he could start at times if you do have guys dealing with injuries. You can still develop him a little bit, and the Patriots need guys with depth just as much as they do need guys that can be starters for them. So Yanni Kajus back on a low-end contract here. Now Miles Bryant. Everybody wants to see him go, but Bill Belichick loves him. Miles Bryant, a UDFA who's come in and just cemented himself somehow with a key starting piece year after year. And I think that also comes down to his versatility. He's played in the slot. He's played on the perimeter. He's literally played at safety. And it's because of that versatility that I do think Bill Belichick will want to bring him back. Myles Bryant, only 25 years old. He still has a lot of time to develop. He has a lot of time still in the league. If the Patriots lose Devin McCourty, if the Patriots lose Jonathan Jones, the Patriots will 100% bring Myles Bryant back. And I think that there is a very good chance that the Patriots do lose both of those guys. And even just for depth purposes, with the Patriots still having a lot of questions at cornerback, and obviously, Marcus Jones being used not just on defense, but primarily on special teams and sometimes on offense too. You need a guy who can still fill in on the slot. So I do think that they do bring back Myles Bryant. That comes back here with Mack Wilson. Mack Wilson had a lot of expectations going on just due to his speed as a linebacker. You thought that once the Patriots made that trade with Cleveland for Chase Winovich, that Mack Wilson could be unlocked here in New England with that sideline-to-sideline speed. We saw none of that. He was supposed to be a good coverage linebacker with his speed and not so great against the run, and then could play some special teams. But we saw him mainly play on special teams, especially towards the mid to end of 2022. Really took on a main special teams role and actually did really good with that. Made some plays here and there on defense. We do know that there is a potential reunion in the making right now between Bill Belichick and Mack Wilson. So I am going to say that he does come back on a low-end contract. Only 25 years old. I don't think there's going to be a lot of teams interested in him. The Patriots can get him for cheap. Probably going to be a main special teams guy who does serve as a depth/rotational piece for the Patriots defense. But that is my thoughts here on each of these free agents. Who do I think the Patriots should re-sign? Who do I think they should move on from? These are my thoughts, though. What are your guys' thoughts? Let me know in the comment section below. Remember to leave a big like on this video, and of course, subscribe to the channel for all of your New England Patriots news. Like always, though, I appreciate you guys for watching. And never forget, go Pats.